like, so for you, what did you what did you do, as far as from moving from junior BA to senior level? Like, um, did you have a mentor or anybody?
For me, no, I did not necessarily have a mentor. When I started in IT, there were very few women. I think where I started, there were a few women, and I too also did the ITIL certification. So I didn't start necessarily in business analysis, but I started more. I started in incident management. So
Okay.
whenever something would go down, uh, there was a problem, and my job was to wrangle everybody and figure out what the problem was and get the service back up. And then I went from incident manager to service owner. So in ITIL, they have service owners. They break things up by services and not products. So they do it a little different, but it's basically the same thing as a product owner, except for you own a service and not product. So,
Right.
so that means you are the go-to person for that specific service. So then I was a service owner. And that was interesting because you are responsible for knowing that service inside and out, everything that is
Wow.
involved with it. So if your service went down, you were definitely going to be on that call until your service was back up. Um, so I did that, and then I enjoyed that so much, and then I got into problem management, and that is again an ITIL thing, where you are responsible for looking. So if you have an incident that happens multiple times, it's no longer an incident; it's a problem. It's a reoccurring problem, and then you work at figuring out how this reoccurring problem is happening, why it's happening, what we need to do to fix it. So what we need to
Mm,
do to fix it led into
okay.
analysis, right?
Gotcha.
And so that was it was an easy transition to make for me. That's kind of going from the ITIL world to the business analysis world, but there's a lot of overlap in those two particular spaces, from problem management to business analysis. So I made that switch. I like it. Business analysis does allow you to be in a lot of different spaces and a lot of different industries. So no, I don't have a particular mentor, but like you, I was always learning and reading and figuring out, well, how do you get from here to there? And what is the next thing that's coming up? And how do we stay on, how do I stay on top of this? And I did a lot of self-directed studies myself. So, I mean, that's how I got my ITIL certification too,
Okay, good.
just like you did.
Yeah.
I
See?
went and bought the book and studied it myself, and I did it myself. And I remember I was one of the first people to have it, and I took it by myself. I did not take it because my organization was pushing me to do it or anything like that, but I did it. And once I did it, then other people were like, "Oh, okay, I guess,
You
I guess
inspired some folks.
I
Yeah.
guess I should do this, right?" And so that's kind of how that works. Once one person takes the certification and people start understanding the value in that, then other people soon follow suit. So yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that was a good transition. I definitely think you're a way better or more effective business analyst if you have been in that service realm where you know the system, you know the incidents that can occur, you know the quick fixes, what's needed, and how to deal with the customers.
I,
Like,
I think so. Remember, I started my career quite a while ago, and then it was a pretty large organization, and that was one of those ones where we had all of our servers on site, so everything was on premise or on prem, as they say now. Everything was on prem, so we had a NOC, we had a SOC, we had a data center. And so when you talked about a service, you needed to know where your machines were. Your services sit on these machines, and these machines are built by such and such manufacturer, and they've got this specific operating system on it. And, this is the firewall, and this is this, and these are your developers, and this is your security engineer. And I mean, you had to know who all these people were, and it all had to be documented and everything like that, because if your service went down, you needed to know who to call. So yes, I think that the ITIL side gave me a very good comprehensive view of what it took to run technology, right?
Yep.
What it took to run everything. And so when I made the switch to the business analysis side, it was easy for, somebody could say, oh, the server is either on-prem or it's off somewhere else, or we have to call the vendor or this or that. And I knew what all of that was. So I think it did make the transition easier for me. Of course, there are not as many on-prem organizations anymore because everything has moved to the cloud.
Right.
And so things are a bit different. That knowledge is probably a bit old and outdated, unless, of course, you go to an organization where they do have their assets on-prem. But it's still good to know that information. Is good to know that there are corners that you need to look around, rocks you need to lift up, people you need to ask questions a little bit more, with a little bit more detail. Those are the things, those are the habits that I got in, and I think those habits have served me well.